Hi, I'm Lenore. I'm a singer and a voice teacher. Today I want to talk about what to do when you want to sing, when you want to learn how to sing, but you don't have a lot of money. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I know all about not having a lot of money. Most of my life I had barely enough to live on, and it took me years to change my mentality to realize that I can actually sometimes spend money on things that I actually need, because usually I would just not do that. My default was to not spend money on anything unless it's food, sometimes rent. Now, my parents were struggling, yes, when I grew up, but they're fine now. They work very hard, and I worked also hard, and I'm okay now. So there is a hope, but it could be that you're just a student right now and you're struggling. Most people do. And learning how to sing, especially if you're very passionate about it, especially if you want it as a profession, that will cost you money. So I'm here to help you to think a little bit more strategically and see how you can use your low budget and make the best out of it and actually learn how to sing. A lot of people, when they think about what it takes to learn how to be a singer, they're thinking, I need to find a good voice teacher, and then I need to go and take weekly lessons and then go home and practice, and then I'll become a singer. There is some truth to that. You do need to find a good teacher, and you probably need to take private lessons if you really want to get good at singing, but it's not necessarily the case that you always have to take weekly lessons, and it is very, very hard to do on a low budget. So what are the alternatives? I want to give you 6 steps you can take to make your voice training process efficient, both vocally and financially. Number 1, learn the basics on your own, because your teacher probably won't take enough time for that. There's a lot of background and theory knowledge that you can learn about the voice by yourself at home. And it is very probable that when you go to a teacher to take a lesson, they will not sit you down and start lecturing you about all kinds of things like vocal anatomy and like the basics of vocal technique. They will probably just start singing with you, make you sing and correct you, and just, go from there, see what they can do to fix your voice in the quickest way. So that's what most teachers do. Some of them, of course, explain about vocal anatomy, but they won't do that thoroughly necessarily. So it is actually very important to learn about how the voice works. It is important to sometimes read about or learn about other singers' experiences, career advice. There are a lot of things that you can learn on your own. And having that basis will support what you learn in your lesson, and you can use that better. There are many ways in which you can learn about how the voice works. You can read books about it, of course, but everything goes online today, right? So you can read articles about it. I also wrote an article about it called How Does the Voice Work? And I'll link it below. Number 2, start by taking an online singing course. If you do find a teacher, online or offline, that you like, maybe they have an online course. And if they do, that's good news for you, because if you like their teaching, you're probably going to like the course. They will be teaching the course will be including their method, and then you get to keep that, right? You get just to have access to that whenever you want to refresh your memory, whenever you need some guidance in your practice. You have that with you all the time. An online singing course, considering that it is a thorough, structured course with different chapters and lessons in each chapter. If you consider the number of lessons in that course and the material that you learn in the course, it will be a lot cheaper than going to individual lessons. And if you want to take this to the next level and you want to get better at your singing, you are going to need some individual attention, which brings me to point number 3, which is combining the course with lessons. When you have the course at your disposal, that is your basis. You can always refer to it and you can use it at home, and then whenever you need extra feedback, whenever you need some more guidance, you go in and you take a lesson. But that means that you can take lessons less often, and then you save money on your lessons. So you don't necessarily need weekly lessons, because actually I recommend to my students that they take as much time as they need after each lesson to go home and what I call drill it in. So really take the time that the body needs. It is muscle memory that we're working with to internalize, to physically understand what's going on. And that very probably may take more than 1 week. So that way you do take fewer lessons and you spend less money, but you do make the most out of each and every lesson. That brings me to point number 4, which is the rules to taking fewer lessons. Because you do want to make sure that the lessons that you take are not just, money that you give to your teacher and then you go home and it's like, now what? What am I going to do with all this information? This point is relevant regardless of an online course. So whether you have it or not, and you go in and you take a lesson with your teacher, here's what you do. During the lesson, you either take notes or, what I think is better, record the lesson, or even better, film the lesson, film yourself, and then you go home and you worked on what you worked on in the lesson. You focus on one thing at a time and you try to gain a better understanding of that thing that you're focusing on. When I say better understanding, I mean a physical, kinesthetic understanding, meaning you learn the feeling and the actions that are going on in your body when you're doing that thing. And of course, it's not going to happen 100% of the time at first, but you're going to get more and more used to it, and it's going to happen more and more. And don't go back to the next lesson before you have a significantly better understanding and more familiarity with the things that you learned in the first lesson. That way, when you go to your next lesson, you are already at a different level and you can take it from there. If you don't do that thorough practice at home and you just go in for another lesson, you will most likely have to go back almost to where you started in the first lesson, because that's how muscle memory works. The muscles need time. And that's the only way that you can take lessons less often. It's all about how you do your work in between the lessons that will allow you to sustain yourself better. You can actually save your money. Number 5, take interactive group lessons. Now, if you're serious about singing, you must be thinking, group lessons? That's not serious enough for me. I need a one-on-one attention. I'm working like an athlete to become a pro. Group lessons are not good enough. Well, eventually you are right. Eventually you will need private attention. Eventually you will need tailor-made singing lessons just for you. But in a group lesson, you will get occasional personal attention and you will get to practice more, be inspired and learn from other singers, other singing students, which is a lot more helpful than you might think. And most importantly, it's cheaper. So you can use group singing lessons as the maintenance for a certain period of time when you're practicing your singing. And again, upgrade that by occasionally getting your personal feedback. Number 6, apply for scholarships. For those of you who really want to be singers more than anything, but don't have enough means to do that, don't be embarrassed, don't be shy, don't let this stop you. There are options, there are funding, there are scholarships out there. Go seek them. Don't be afraid to say, I need help in this. Because if you really want to be a professional singer, you cannot do that without funding. So if you don't have the resources yourself, you should go ahead and seek them. There are private teachers who do that. There are universities who give scholarships. There are all kinds of organizations who help people with little means. So just go for it. Yeah, don't be in that mental box that says, I don't have means, so I'm only going to study free online. If you really want to be a singer, that's probably not going to do the trick. Having said all that, you should have a job. I know some people, especially young people, and maybe I'm also a little bit guilty of that, who have this naivete which tells them that if you just, have a dream and you want to be a singer, you'll be okay. You just, go and do your best, and maybe you can just work part-time somewhere, and that's going to be enough. Listen, it's not. Even after scholarships, even after saving money on your lessons, you still need some resources to pay for your singing lessons, for pianists, traveling for auditions, recordings, photo shoots, different coachings of different kinds of skills that you need to be your own business or your own brand, whatever it is that you want to do. You need to work. I'm speaking from experience here, of someone who thought they could get away with working less, and thinking back, if I just had a job and I would, structure my time well enough to practice at my own free time, I would be moving along a lot quicker than I did. At least in the beginning of your singing journey, it is okay, in my opinion, to take a full-time job. Even though you're going to be exhausted and it's going to be a lot, it will give you a basis, just this comfort basis of being able to pay for what you need. So it's okay at first, having said, what I said before, that you have a lot to learn on your own free time and you can do a lot of things at home. In the beginning, maybe you will need more lessons because you will still not be completely aware of your own singing process and not sure what you can do at home to sustain yourself. It's more important in the beginning to make more money, and then later on you can maybe lay off some hours and dedicate more time to your singing. Bottom line is, don't let anything stop you, not even the idea that you don't have money. You can do this if you put the work needed at home between your lessons, if you do this smartly and strategically, as I just told you, you can do this. So go for it. Enjoy singing, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any more ideas on how to save on your singing process, please comment and let me know. We can all learn from that.